Hey, friends, welcome back to Everything Journals. I'm Tara.
And I'm Steph. In our last episode, we talked about the journals and planners we're starting 2026 with. Today, we're sharing some of the places we traveled to at the end of 2025, the stationery shops we loved, what we bought while we were there, and where we're hoping to go in 2026.
So let's jump in. Now, Steph, I know that you are fresh off a trip from, I think it was Tennessee, right? You did your paper route, and I can't wait to hear where did you go? What did you get? Tell us all the stuff.
I did some research ahead of time on stationery stores and bookstores. It tends to be those two kind of themes that you can find most of the stores in the area. And then I did post to TikTok actually, and one of the members of our community had shared a new store that had just opened that I didn't even find when I did the search on Google Maps. Unfortunately, the day that I did my paper route tour, it was Tuesday. A lot of stores were closed. It was interesting for whatever reason. I don't know if this is every city, but in Nashville, a lot open on Wednesdays or even Thursdays. So my route ended up getting a little bit shorter than expected, but there were definitely two favorite places. The first one was paper and ink art. And I hit that one actually first on the paper out tour just from the direction I was going. And they had, I mean, anything and everything you could think of when it came to pens, writing, painting, tons of different paper selection. And then they had a whole side room that had even books about like how to draw and watercolor and just tons of paper selection there too. So really fun to just kind of poke around and see some of the cool stuff out there. And then it was the last stop of the day, a place called Gift Horse that I also enjoyed. It was definitely like a printing press, so a lot of greeting cards and postcards that they make themselves. And that was the first place I personally had seen a kit for junk journaling and posted a video of it on TikTok. The one thing that got me on that one though is the journal they included was a spiral bound. It wasn't a smash journal. There was nothing like special to it. And so I was like, man, I can't. But the little extras they had were really cool in the kit if you could just swap out the notebook.
Well, it's nice to see different stores catching on. I just this week posted a video of TJ Maxx, of all places, having I think it's Paged brand journal. I can't remember the name of it, but they created a journal kit.
Is it Paperage? Paperage? I
Yeah,
don't know how
yes.
you say it.
Yes.
Okay.
So typically you can get it on like Amazon. There's also one in the TikTok shop, which is that brand with the junk journal kit. It's like 24 or $23 on the TikTok shop, but TJ Maxx had it for 12.99, which, it wasn't the greatest selection with it, but you got the journal, a tape runner, some washi tape, and pages. So for that price, it was cool. But point is, I feel like a lot more places are catching on to the fun of junk journaling and trying to make like a starter kit that people can just get to get up and running quickly.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, you put together a mini kit for me when I got started junk journaling. So I am taken to the kits and kind of a curated selection. You should do that like perfect.
Well, that's the fun part is like curating based off what people like, right? So that's the hard part I feel like when you find ones that are pre-made is they're not really to your color liking or the type of products you use. When you get to know somebody, and that would be my dream one day of like somebody fills out a questionnaire of things that they love and then I curate a pack for them. So just putting that out there in the universe, who knows what will happen, but that would be fun one day to do. But no, that's cool that you came across some. That means it's picking up traction. So,
It's honestly, it's a great way to explore a city. That was probably my big takeaway from Nashville. We ended up hitting so many different parts of the city just because they were pretty spread out and got to explore and just see, drive around for a purpose. So, highly recommend if you're kind of an explorer like us and like to see new cities, it's a great way to do it.
yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Now, I haven't actually spent a lot of time in Nashville, but now that I know the variety of stores that they've had and even ones you weren't able to visit, I definitely need to add it to my list because I love just even if I'm not buying a lot, just looking at the different variety and it's just kind of my happy place. So, sounds like a good
I'm
time.
Yeah, highly recommend. But I will say, so going into our next stop, I went from Nashville to New Orleans, where we met up shortly after to do another kind of paper routes tour. So I'll let you share more about your favorites there, since I've been going off about Nashville.
Well, first off, it was super fun to plan. So, you came up with the idea of going on this trip, and then I was like, yes, please. And let me put a plan together. And so I did what you suggested and used Google Maps and just kind of slotted out. We had a few priorities, right? Like we had to do the stationery and book, but also art stores. But then we also had to visit cute coffee shops. We need
Mhm.
caffeine to energize us as we shop. And then just put that all together of where we were going to go. And actually, we followed our kind of paper route pretty closely. And I felt like we made really good time. And thankfully, most things were open on the days that we planned to go because, we planned it ahead and looked at those things. So that worked out. There was one that was my favorite, so I'll just speak to that one to start, and it was called Scriptura. And they were kinda similar to the one you were talking about in Nashville where they had a paper press, so they had a lot of cards that they make themselves and, a lot of just custom things that they do, which was really cool. And one of the owners actually showed me how he uses the paper press, so I thought that was fun. I've seen them before, but not in action. But it was my favorite store because of their variety, but also their fountain pens. And like I said, I'm a sucker for a fountain pen. And I wasn't going to buy one on this trip, but the one that I found spoke to me. And so I had to buy it. So let me show you it. Now, I will tell you, first off, the box got a little water damage, but I'm still going to show you it because the box itself is so cute. It's a Navalur, and I'm not sure if I'm saying it 100% right. It means narwhal in English, and that's why the narwhal is on it. But now let me show you the pen. So we'll take the little warranty card out.
So beautiful.
Now you may not see it with this light, but it is like a white sparkle. And I'm a sucker for sparkly, girly, all the things. And this top and bottom have this sparkly white, and then it has gold fixtures, and it has the clear ink, which I love because you can see your ink, you can see how empty it is when you need to refill it. And then let's see if I can give you an image here of
Hmm.
the beautiful. Now the tip has very pretty flower detail etched into it, and then also of course the narwhal is etched into the tip as well. But this is a fine tip, and then it is also they call it a piston filler, so it's almost a vacuum. So you pull it up and then or you unscrew it and it brings it up, and then you push it down and it just sucks the ink in on its own. And so it was really fun to fill. It's the first one like that that I have gotten. This was $60. And so it's a little bit more on the expensive end of what I let. Now, don't get me wrong, I know there's way more expensive fountain pens, but it was a little more on the expensive side. But I will say the way that it writes is very smooth for a fine tip pen. And the ink flow consistency has been very nice so far. So far, I am really happy on top of the fact that it's just a beautiful pen. And so lately, this has become my go to use all the time pen. And I put a Pilot brown ink inside of it. So that was my gem of a souvenir, I'll call it, on our New Orleans trip.
I love that. I'm so proud of you for getting that pen, because it's just, it's a special place that visited, the memories that come along with it, plus it's fabulous. I have to say the owner, I believe they were both owners were there, just wonderful people. I mean, you could
So
tell they
nice.
loved what they do. They also had a really cool collection of journals or notebooks that they sourced from Florence, Italy. And it sounds like they're potentially the only store in the United States that carries this gentleman's work from Florence, and he takes marble paper and they're all hardcover marble paper. I ended up getting some small ones, which I'll show in another episode, but just gorgeous, unique finds. And their cards had me dying. I mean,
I
there
know
were
they were
some,
funny.
you'll see them in future videos or spreads of when I figure out how to use them, because I don't want to like paste them into something, but I do want to cherish them forever. So that store, I absolutely loved it. Would highly, highly recommend Scriptura. I think if we had more time, we probably would have gone back there a second or third time.
100%. And those journals you're talking about, the ones from Italy, they were beautiful. And those are the things I love when you go to stores like that. And I will tell you, on our list, this was the store I was actually, not that I wasn't excited for it, but it piqued my interest the least because I was like, well, they make cards. That's probably the variety of what they carry. But it actually was, in my book, my favorite one there. And then once you got there, you saw the uniqueness and the fact that the owners took the time to even explain the journals and they let me bring the pen out and look at it. Just that attention to detail to me, it makes the experience so great. But I will say they definitely stood out to me as one that you definitely want to visit if you're in New Orleans, visiting, live there, whatever the case. It's a must stop.
And they opened my eyes to the, variety that comes out of Italy. I mean, maybe this is duh for a lot of people, but I hadn't run into a lot of things from Florence especially, and since being there, I've come across a ton of different journals and especially, like, leather type covers that are from Italy with the really nice smooth leather. So I think for the future, we might have to do an Italy trip because it sounds like that'd be a stationery heaven as well.
Twist my arm, will you? If we must.
Yeah. For for market research, it will be important.
Course. Of course, because our older sister came with us as well, and she got one of those journals as well. And she's new to journaling, but she saw it, thought it was beautiful, had to have it too. So, it speaks to those in journaling, new to journaling, whatever the case, that the beauty in just the journals and the attention to detail in them. Like, I mean, I, I was sold. They're beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And then from there, I would say that was definitely my top, like my favorite store of the trip. The one that I did end up getting an unexpected pen from was Papier Plume. One of the very first spots that we went to, there was construction in the French Quarter where this one was located. So we walked a good amount of time in the rain to get here, but I would say this pen made it worth it. They were a smaller shop, still very good selection of, I'd say it looked like handmade, nice leather journals, lots of pen selection. Some of those, again, papers from Italy that have really pretty, delicate designs on them. Trying to remember what else they had in there.
They did. They also had, which were really pretty, I just couldn't bring myself to buy them, but these handmade fountain pen carriers by, I don't know if it was a local artist or what, but they had, a line of those. So just some unique things to their store that I hadn't seen before. But you're right, it was smaller, a much more intimate store. But definitely cute variety.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say it was a good visit for sure. And this pen that I got is I don't know if I'm going to say it right, but it's Schaefer. And the gentleman had shared that this is evidently kind of an old school brand that wasn't popular for quite some time, and they're making a little bit of a comeback with this new design. And so this collection is they call it coffee inspired, which spoke to me.
Right up your alley.
It was. And this version of the pen, there was a fountain pen with it, and then there was also uh, a ballpoint and a roller ball, but they had different weights to them. And so I ended up going, this one I think was $85. So probably one of the most expensive pens I've personally gotten as I'm upping my pen game. But just the weight of it just feels so nice. And I didn't go fountain because I find that as much as they're gorgeous, smudge fountain pens a ton and just haven't figured out the notebooks I want to use for it. So I ended up getting, I think this is a rollerball tip, ballpoint. I should know, but the heft, especially when you can put the end on it just right, so smooth, and the brown kind of ombre.
It's very pretty. And now I don't remember, is it almost like a wood body or I can't
No,
remember what it's made of.
this one is
Or is it
not.
a resin?
It feels almost metal, like a
Okay.
painted metal, and then
That
it
would make
has.
sense with the weight that it
Mhm.
has to it.
Yeah, so just a very fun one that it just wrote so well.
That
I
was
I
cute.
had to go for it, and it was a new brand I hadn't come across, so good to find at that store. I'm excited to use this bad boy.
I feel like with pens, it's a journey, right? Like, I love them, and it's like you said, it's hard to find the right one. So, it is this process of going through, trying different ones, and, giving them a chance. Not everyone's going to be the right fit, but I do really enjoy trying them. We need to create some sort of way to maybe sell our trial pens to those who also would like to try them. But for me, it's part of the fun process to find ones that you really love.
I agree. The wood one that you're thinking was actually one I got from, I think it was New Orleans or Moe's Art Supply. You might remember.
Yeah. Mhm. I thought you got a wood one.
I did. Yep. So this is definitely wood, and then it's a heavy metal cap. And this one is another ballpoint or roller ball one. It's a short little guy, and I forget the term, but it is not intended to have the cap put on the end. It
I think
actually,
it's
like you,
docking, but I could be wrong.
yeah, something like that. I did a little research after I bought it. So I ended up going for this one because it was 50% off. It didn't come with a case. I didn't even get to test it. Like, it was a great art supply store, but they're definitely, while they sell pens, don't necessarily have the setup for like assessing fancier pens. So I did it on kind of a whim. And I was really nervous because when I brought it home, which was the first time I was trying it, it didn't write. But what's interesting, this is a Faber Castle, which I've run into quite a few times when it comes to markers and things like
Yeah.
that. The brand I knew, but what's interesting with the pen is the cartridge actually has the tip on it.
Mm,
So the pen not working, I wasn't too freaked out unless this didn't work, I just needed to get a new cartridge. And then the tip is actually part of the replacement piece and it writes really well. So it was worth a try. And then it just screws back together. But I will say I'm not sure that I'm a fan of not being able to put the cap on the end, especially because I can be forgetful or
that's
lose
fair.
things. I liked the heft of it. I like heavy pens, and I thought putting that on the end actually made it feel really nice, but it's not intended to do that.
No, that's good. Well, at least you were able to get it working. That's always disappointing when you can't test it and you just don't know. But just like you said, it's refillable. That's the beauty of these. Our children, our family, what are your inheritance? Your pens. They'll last you forever.
Got a great collection going. That is a change in the thought process, right? Like, I'm used to getting pens once the ink is out, you dispose of them. So, of course, because of that, they're less expensive. But this, you keep the pen, you just change out the refills or refill it with the inkwell. I did learn, and I don't know that this is something that you commonly run into, but especially for some of these brands I hadn't heard about, while I was at the store, I would do a quick search and just make sure I could get refills somewhat easily or not too expensive because that.
It's fair. Yeah. No, that's good. It's hard when you're doing it on a whim, but yeah, definitely that's a good thing to know. Or try to Google it really quick there. But I think those, especially like they were close to closing anyways, and we're like, sale, yes, get it. It's great. But no, Moe's Art Supply. So that one was just super cute. I mean, they had a good variety, but they also were very much an art supply store. So I would say the stationery was more limited. Our older sister did find a gem of an area that was like 50% off. I think it was on a lot of calligraphy pens, but otherwise they had a lot of the paint and canvases and all those kind of things. But I think it an old chapel? Is that what it was made of? I mean, it was just a very cool building. So definitely a place to check out. And we went at night, so the stained glass in the front was lit up and it was red and it just looked really pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I had forgotten about the external of that one. It was, again, like going from Scriptura there and a couple of the other stores we hit, we ended up, it wasn't a very big, maybe like 5 to 10 mile radius. Like, it wasn't far from one end to the other, but the character in each part of the city we visited going to these stores was fascinating. I wouldn't recommend, like, I'd say the art supply stores we went to tended to be in less populated areas. So I would recommend, like, do try to keep it to daytime, especially if you're not familiar with the area. The roads are a little bit crazy. I still say they change. Like, I think the roads magically change. There is no way.
I'll stand by that for the rest of my life. All roads change to me. But you're right, and there wasn't a lot of street lights and stuff like that, so if you're unfamiliar with the area, it was more just for the sake of getting around that it was a little challenging. And it they see 2 of them seem to be in very residential areas, so we almost thought we were in the very wrong spots, but then they would pop up and be there. Go more during the day when it's light and you can see what you're doing, but it was a cool trip for sure, and I think we found some really cool things. But it's just fun to get out there and try different areas, and like you said, with them being in such different places, I think we saw different parts of New Orleans that we wouldn't have originally saw, just by going to the kind of regular touristy areas. So for that, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say the last top spot for me, it was not a stationery store, but it was a bookstore. Since we worked those in, they tend to have, some journal and pen collection, sometimes the sticker book they'll have there. But the Blue Cypress bookstore was my other favorite place. I think I could have gotten like 50 books I've never heard of or seen, but they just caught my eye while we were there. And for the sake of travel, I did not purchase all of them. I think I maybe got like 3 or 4, but they had some really pretty journals similar to this one, but a larger size where the cover had gorgeous print. You and I ended up getting the
Yeah.
same one, I believe, like tropical flowers, but it was more a large size that we were going to test out for a smaller junk journal. And then a ton of they had local authors in the front, and then some our random find was a really cool pin. They had some pins of like the porches and the front of homes that New Orleans is really known for, and so we got a couple of those to put on future journals that were quite a find.
Yes, no, I agree. It was a super cute bookshop and it was 2 stories as well and almost like an old house feel once you're inside. It was like wood flooring and you go upstairs. It was just very quaint and cozy feeling. And then they also had a really good attention to detail. I mean, they even had like a wrapping station if you're buying the books as a gift and stickers and those type of things that just make the experience a lot of fun. But I got 2 books and then that larger journal that you talked about, and then, of course, the pin. And the pin I love because I have that on one of my pouches for my journaling. Just fun, cute things to remember the trip. And I didn't mention this in another video, but yes, that journal, I'm going to use that and test it out for a 2026 junk journal or creative journal, everything journal. So, some really good finds. And I love that on those trips like that, or if you go different places, you get those things that you can now use throughout the year. So, I look forward to jumping into that one.
It was a fun trip. I look forward to doing more paper route tours together because we just, again, like you said in the beginning, work in the stores, coffee shop, tea shops, cafes, good restaurants. We had those picked out. Really enjoyed. I had a ton of beauty and skincare products because I'm a sucker for trying a ton of different ones. So I packed those up and then we did like faux facials in the room at the end of the day.
No, definitely. And I mean, we joked that we're little old ladies in the hotel room before like 9 p.m. But truly it was very refreshing to like get some of that journaling done and together also and kind of remember the day, but then you're not bringing it all home with you. And then we incorporated things like you brought the facial things and we found some tea at a cute little bakery that we would make every night. So definitely if you're trying to plan a girls trip, like I know it sounds a little old ladyish, but embrace it because it truly was so refreshing. And I came back home not feeling like I needed another vacation from the vacation. I felt
Yep.
reinvigorated. I can't wait till we plan the next one. And, I thought it was a great time. Oh,
Well, speaking of, let's share a little bit about what we've got in the works for 2026. I'm really excited about one of our trips in particular, and we'll be sure to share this in our Patreon, on socials, as we're going through and do more deep dive videos like this, kind of just recapping our favorites and what we saw. For me, since I travel for work a bit, what I'm trying to do is work in an extra day to get around and do like a mini paper out tour. So my first stop in 2026 will be Scottsdale. I do see a handful of promising places. I'm also going to work in some Goodwill locations since I'm making the paper purses. I now want to be able to go to some secondhand stores and see what kind of purses I can find. So Scottsdale will be next up, and then our very next big one will be, I'll drum roll, Japan.
Yes, I'm so excited. I can't wait. Now, you have been, and so you're going to show us around a bit. This is
Mhm.
my first time ever, and you know I'm a sucker for Japanese stationery and pens and all the things. So I'm definitely bringing a suitcase empty. I told my husband he gets a backpack, his suitcase is going to be empty. We're about to go a little crazy. Okay, maybe
You
not that crazy, but I definitely am planning to buy some things.
Yes. Good. I'm proud of you. You have to there. The first time I went, it was 1 week and it was like to kind of fill in this awkward gap we had between some work trips and it was not stationary focused. So I think we hit one of the stores. I forget the name. You had actually told me about it where it's like a 10-story stationery
It
store.
Itoya or Itoyo, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that was really cool, but that was pretty much the only stop. So I am excited to have, we're already planning doing kind of a map of the places that we can go, doing our research on socials. So it'll hugely be focused on stationery and probably food naturally and all the snacks.
Definitely. And a
Yes.
few things for the guys that are coming with us. You know, we'll give them a little bit there, but the rest, yes, we have it all planned out. It's going to be great. So, can't wait to give some updates on that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's our 11. I think it's 11 days we'll be there. So it'll be pretty quick as we are going to hop around to a few different cities. But we'll be sure to document that one. I'm not sure that this one will have a ton there, but I will check it out just in case. Another work related trip will actually be in Maui. Um, I started doing some initial research. I don't see it a ton, but we'll feel it out. So I'll keep y'all posted on that one.
Well, that'll still be exciting just to explore, anyways, and just collect the goodies for your junk journal, if nothing else. But we
Mhm.
can't wait to hear more.
Yes, yes. And then I'm putting out into the universe. I'd like for us to do another sister paper route tour. If anyone has suggestions out there, all ears. We're trying to find a balance of not necessarily like the big main cities, like obviously New York, LA would be fabulous. But we did really like New Orleans, mid-sized, manageable city, had quite a few things. Same things with Nashville. So, if you have any other ideas or suggestions, we definitely want to make this part of what we're doing and exploring and letting you all know. So if you can make a paper route tour of your own, you know where to go.
Yes, definitely. Well, we can't wait to hear more about your Scottsdale trip on the next episode. But for those of you listening, if you want deeper dives into our trips, if you want our paper route, all those things, let us know in the comments, subscribe. Also, check out our Patreon because we will post those items there for you as well.
Yep, and you can find us on Patreon at Everything Journals. In the next episode, I'll be sharing an update on my Scottsdale trip, plus some other exciting stationery finds and creative things that we've been trying out since then. So please make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it.
Until next time, happy journaling.